Okay. Well, thank you. For those of you who don't know her, she's half French, half American. She lives in Paris on the Ile Saint-Louis because that's where I would like to live. She has a bichon frise, a dog. His name is Miles Davis, or Miles Davis, as the French say. She's a PI. She was trained in being a private investigator, but she inherited the Leduc Detective Agency when her father was killed in a mysterious bomb explosion in Place Vendôme. So she switches the agency to computer security and pulls in her friend, Renée Friant, who's a computer hacker extraordinaire and is also a dwarf. She has her godfather, his name is Morbier, Commissaire Morbier, and he was her father's first colleague when they were policemen. But there's always a very big problematic relationship between those two because he knows secrets about her family that he never wants to reveal. So I'll talk about this book. All my books are set in the 1990s. The first book is Murder in the Marais that takes place in November of 1993. And now, 13 books later, we're only 4 years in Amy Leduc's life. We're in February of 1998. Her American mother left when she was 8 years old. They never talk about her in the family, but we do know that she's on the World Terrorist Watch list. So I'll just set the scene for you and then tell you about where this story came from. We're in February of 1998. We still pay in francs. We can smoke in the cafes. Google is on the horizon. Very much on the horizon. And she has a cell phone, but there's no Facebook, no Twitter, no texting. Isn't that wonderful? And so when I was in Paris researching my story, I was talking to a man who was in the Paris Police Prefecture, and he was a big guy. He was in what we would call the SWAT team, big men with the armored vests. I was asking him something, and we'd finished talking, and he said to me, "Have you written about art?" I said, "No." "Have you written about stolen art?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, my great-grandmother owned a cabaret in Montmartre in the 1900s. It was quite well known. It's where people would come and dance, where there would be music, and very famous people would go there. And when I was a little boy, I remember the cabaret had stayed in my family. We went because they were going to, clean it up a little bit, do some remodeling. Excuse me. And they took down one of the walls, and behind this wall was another wall. And on this wall, there was a painting. No signature, but it was very distinctive. And everyone said it must have been Toulouse-Lautrec. Because Monsieur Lautrec used to go to the cabaret. He would drink a lot of absinthe. He would be with the ladies. And then at the end of the evening, he would have nothing in his pocket. So he would pay by painting on the wall. Unfortunately, in the remodeling, that was lost. But it really started me thinking. Because sometimes when I go to Paris, it's about finding that little nugget, that little piece of information that I write down and I put in my little envelope and I keep it to think about where another story could come from. And then I was in Paris 2 years later and I was thinking, I've got that little nugget, maybe I should start exploring art. So I called the Paris police to try and talk to the art division. Now I knew they existed, the art cops, but I knew also that these are very busy people. It's very hard to get an appointment. Sometimes it takes forever. So I called up and I said, I'd like to make an appointment in the future if you have some time. And it was a woman and her name was Corinne. And she said, "Oh, you want to come over?" I was like, "Why, yes. That's wonderful because my colleague and I, we're taking English conversation. And we'd love to speak with you." So I was welcomed with open arms. So I went to their office of the art cops, and it was Corinne with her second in command, Jean-Luc, and they invited me for lunch at their homes, this beautiful apartment near Jardin Luxembourg. I took them out for sushi because they love sushi, and they were telling me about what they did, and they said, you know, we have a vault in the back. I said, you have a vault? Yes, where we keep the things we've recovered that were stolen. Sculpture, paintings. I said, would you like to see it? I said, yeah, I think I would like to see it, yes. So I got into the vault, which had this big, you know, metal door. It was very musty inside. And I can't tell you what was in there. But let's just say the artist was a Spanish person whose name started with a P, one name, and lived in Paris. But I didn't tell you that, right? I didn't tell you anything. It was quite amazing what was in this vault.